Basketball. The premise of it is very simple. You have two teams, 5 players on the court from each team at any given time, and the goal is to have more points than the other team by the time the buzzer sounds. However, we know how complicated this game actually is, especially when it comes to team building and running the right plays at the right time to get you that extra inch of advantage in any given moment. And as fans of the game, we love to rank our favorite basketball players and talk about who's better than who and have these great debates with our friends. So much so that TV networks have created shows based on this premise. And it's honestly not just fans. If you manage a NBA team, if you coach an NBA team, you get paid millions of dollars every single year to judge and assess the talent of basketball players. Ladies and gentlemen, today, I want to have a discussion and talk about the hardest question to answer in our community. And that is, how much does winning matter when it comes to evaluating individual talent? But before we get on with the rest of the video, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel hosted by your boy B Souls. I'm blacked out today, you know what I'm saying? Got the black hoodie, got the Raiders hat. I hope everyone's having a good day, man. How's your day been? Quick shout out to the Let's Keep It a Buck podcast, man. We have had some really great guests come on the pod from the NBA community, some of your favorite creators in the community on the pod. And we just use it as an outlet for other creators in the community to just talk about something more than basketball. Because what you'll find is that most of your favorite creators are just as passionate when it comes to creating content as they are fans of basketball. So links will be in the description for that. Shout out to this guy from the last video. We are rocking the blue windscreen in this video. Leave a comment in the comment section down below what color y'all want to see next. But let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Look, I am a person who's very interested in narratives in our community. That is my thing. I find it very interesting how certain players are perceived and how consistent those notions are across the board. And the one aspect of the game that I think is the most divisive topic within the community is how much winning plays a factor when you're evaluating individual talent. And honestly, let's take it beyond players. This is also an issue, or this is also a divisive topic when you're talking about coaches, when you're talking about GMs. Now, winning. This is the essence of the sport. This is the essence of every game. The goal going into every basketball game is for you to help your team to have more points than the other team. And there's this belief, especially with star players, that your ability to lead your team to more wins is directly correlated to how good of a basketball player you actually are. Like, I kid you not, there's people in this community whose top 50 list is pretty much based on who made it deeper in the playoffs or who had a better record in the regular season. And I'm not gonna lie, I've put my top 50 on this channel. You can check it out right here. And it is guilty of doing the exact same thing I'm talking about right now. But I'll get into that a little later on in the video. Now let's ask the question, why do we even think this way? Why do we even think this way? Well, if you're a star player who's consistently putting up great statistics, your ability to translate those statistics to not just individual success, but to team success is a very, very impressive feat. And especially with the NBA throughout its history, there are just so many examples of star players taking a step back, deliberately focusing less on their individual success in order to have more team success. Then when it comes to assessing individuals, it just seems like a disservice to not talk about winning. Because there are great players who sacrifice individual statistics, individual success in order for their team to win more. And when you don't talk about winning, it's like their sacrifices meant nothing. Take a look at this clip right here from Wilt Chamberlain.
Sometimes the mere power of you makes you more individualistic. I have said this before, Wilt Chamberlain and the Boston Celtics might not have been the same. Because I was taken away from Bob Cousy, from Tom Heinsohn, because I was a scorer too. And then all of a sudden now they had to pass the ball to me, and they would take something away from them. So, you know, sometimes less is better.
Yeah, that is coming from Wilt Chamberlain himself. And while one of the biggest debates of all time has been Bill Russell versus Wilt Chamberlain, a debate between a guy who's had the most team success in history versus a guy who's put up the craziest numbers in history. The guy who put up the craziest numbers in history will tell you that Bill Russell is on his level. Even though when you look at the individual statistics, he really shouldn't. He really shouldn't. And Bill Russell in this league especially is the epitome of a player who took the ultimate sacrifices for team success. This is a guy who knew that his team would operate much better if he let Bob Cousy have his, let Sam Jones have his, let John Havlicek have his, let Tom Heinsohn have his. Which is why I find it crazy when people bring up how many Hall of Famers Bill Russell played with, because a decent amount of these Hall of Famers either A, primarily made it to the Hall of Fame due to their coaching careers, or B, probably would not have made the Hall of Fame if they didn't rack up 5 to 7 rings while playing with Bill Russell. And because Bill Russell made these sacrifices, when you look at his numbers, yes, his scoring wasn't up there with the likes of a Wilt Chamberlain or Oscar Robertson or Jerry West, but he made up for it with his passing. He made up for it with his defensive abilities. He made up for it with his leadership. And he consistently, far more consistent than any other player in that era, led his teams to championships and to just amazing team success as a whole. And because of that, when you ask anyone from that time period, whether it be fans, players in the game, coaches in the game, or even historians like Bill Simmons, who I know is biased, but you know where I'm going with this. When you ask those people will tell you that the 60s was Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain's era. And that has been the general notion for a reason. But let's take it into modern times. Let's talk about, in my opinion, the modern Bill Russell, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a player who, if he really wanted to carry, if he really had to carry, he can do it. In 2002, when he was playing with an old David Robinson, a rookie Tony Parker, and a 32-year-old Steve Smith as his best teammates, he was able to give you 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game, and led the Spurs to 58 wins. But as Manu and Tony Parker came into their own, Tim Duncan said, okay, let me take a step back and take it down from 23 to 26 a game to, let's say, 18 to 20. So Tony Parker can get his, so Manu Ginobili can get his. So we can go into every game and the other team is afraid of us as a team, not just me as a player. But best believe I still got that ability if I need to do it. There's guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant who might not have done it from day one, but at some point in their career made sacrifices individually for more team success, for more championships. Because let's keep it a stack, let's keep it a bean, let's keep it 100. If Michael Jordan really wanted to, he could have averaged 35 points a game every single season in the early 90s. But he knew that if he wanted to get past the Detroit Pistons, he needs Scottie Pippen to be better. He needs help. And for that to happen, for those players to even be able to perform what they need to do, Michael Jordan needed to take a step back in order for those players to have their touches. And as soon as that happened, boom, Scottie Pippen saved Michael Jordan's career. Oh no, they won. No, they won championships. They won championships. Let's look at Kobe Bryant. 2 years before 2008, he was leading the league in scoring and was putting up ridiculous numbers, but he was getting bounced out in the first round, if not making the playoffs at all. But in 2008, yes, he was still that lethal scorer, but he wasn't averaging 32, 35 points a game. But in him doing that, Lamar Odom was able to flourish a little more. Trevor Ariza was able to flourish a little more. Andrew Bynum, Pau Gasol. The Lakers as a whole became a feared team. It wasn't just Kobe. You can look at the big three Celtics in 2008. There's a lot of examples throughout history, but the premise is, if you ignore winning when you're evaluating individual talent, especially all time, and then use their lack of statistics against them, it's just a big middle finger to all the sacrifices they made on the court throughout their careers. That's crazy. That's crazy. To not consider it, oh, now Tim Duncan's greatness is being questioned because he didn't average like 26, 28 points a game. When the reason there is even greatness to be questioned, when the reason his help was as good as it was because Tim Duncan took a step back to allow them to flourish in that environment. But at the same token, there's a reason why this is a great debate, because there is another side to this argument. There's another side of this argument that says that why should winning matter at all? This is a team game. Why are we using team success to evaluate individual talent, individual success? A player can play extremely well but lose a game, and now that's somehow a testament to that individual player. Like, you can put up 50 points in a game, but Ray Allen making one shot determines if you had a good game or a bad game. And in that sense, like, how does that make sense? How is that fair to players who were in bad situations early on in their career? How is that fair to great individual players who are in bad situations, who are on teams that are just incompetent? Take a look at Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, prior to being traded to the Lakers, was a walking 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game pretty much. However, in terms of ranking NBA players, he's definitely more favorable now. And him being compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo is much more acceptable than it was a year ago. When you look at AD's individual statistics, his points per game was effectively the same. His rebounds went down by 3 a game. His assists went down while his turnovers went up. His efficiency went down. His steals and blocks per game went down. A lot of his advanced metrics went down. Meanwhile, Giannis, on the other hand, his numbers went up, if anything. Yet because of winning, it's now more acceptable to have that conversation between AD and Giannis. And the only difference between last year and this year is that now AD is a champion. A, is that fair to Giannis? And B, is that fair to AD? Throughout all of his years in New Orleans, when he was putting up very similar numbers but wasn't winning and wasn't being held to this high regard. All it took was 1 year of AD winning, which is a team accomplishment, and the general perception around AD has changed so much. Let's take a look at players like Karl-Anthony Towns and Devin Booker. Devin Booker the last 2 years has been averaging roughly around 26 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds a game on some bad Suns teams. Karl-Anthony Towns has been putting up 25 points and 12 rebounds a game on ridiculous efficiency since his second year in the league pretty much. These two are some of the most talented players in the league, and let's just keep it a buck. They are putting up superstar statistics. Yet when we're having these debates, when we're ranking players, there is often a discussion between, let's say Kyle Lowry and Devin Booker, because Kyle Lowry wins more. There's a discussion between Jokic and Karl-Anthony Towns because Jokic wins more. Most people would have Jokic in their top 10. Meanwhile, Cat, he might be in the lower 20s, if anything. Let's take it back a little bit and talk about Kevin Garnett. Is it fair to Kevin Garnett that if he never joined the Big Three Celtics, that his legacy would be far more different despite being the exact same talented player he was in Minnesota? And the most polarizing example of them all, LeBron James. When comparing him to Michael Jordan, how much should winning really matter when it's a team sport? What's the point of bringing up 6-0 when it's a team sport? It's not LeBron's fault that he had to face juggernauts in the finals. He played extremely well in 2015, 2017, and 2018, despite losing in those finals. And these are all valid points, which I understand, because even if you are a superstar like LeBron James who can control a lot on the basketball court, you can still only control so much. So now the question is, what is the verdict then? What is the verdict then? How much does winning play a factor into evaluating individual talent? And I guess right there, I kind of just answered my own question. It's a factor, not an end-all, be-all. Let me take all the math class, man. Let me take all the math class real quick. The number 24. 4, 3, and 2 are factors of the number 24. Because 4 times 3 times 2 is 24. That means that each of these 3 numbers count. They are a factor, but they are not an end-all be-all. But in that same regard, there are different magnitudes in these factors. 4 counts more than 3 and 2. And when it comes to evaluating individual talent, when it comes to talking about coaches and GMs, winning is a factor. But our question is, how big of a factor is it, right? That's been our question all along. And the answer to that question, again, is very complicated because of the examples I laid out in this video. If you ignored winning and just put it at the bottom of the list, then why does LeBron making it to the finals all of these years, why is that even impressive? Because that's still a team accomplishment. LeBron could have just averaged 38-8 on a non-playoff team all of these 17 years, and it shouldn't change anything, right? That's how it goes. If you don't take into account winning, then why did Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, Kobe, LeBron even make all of these sacrifices to be able to win more championships? Was that for nothing? It has to count for something. Y'all saw how happy LeBron James was when he won the championship. Y'all saw how happy Laker fans won when they won a championship. Y'all saw how happy LeBron fans, individual fans of that individual were when he won a championship. And there has to be a reason for that. It can't just be neglected. But at the same time, if you value winning a little too much, then that doesn't do the careers of Kevin Garnett, the talent of guys like Trae Young, Devin Booker, Karl-Anthony Towns enough justice. These are very talented players that at this stage in their career are just not in favorable situations. But it does make it hard to rank them. Again, I don't have a concrete answer to this question. There's a reason why I believe this is the hardest question to answer in our community. It's a very intricate question. But with that being said, leave your thoughts on this question in the comment section down below. But with that being said, I'm out. Yes, sir. Peace.